He kōna e purangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Kia ora and welcome along to the Music 101 interview podcast. I'm Charlotte Ryan, and all this week I've been keeping a secret. Just this morning it was announced that Dame Hinewehi Mohi has been announced as this year's New Zealand Music Hall of Fame inductee. She is a national treasure, and this year marks the 25th anniversary of the release of her debut album, Oceania. It also marks the anniversary of that monumental performance that she did at the 1999 Rugby World Cup, when she became the first person to sing the New Zealand national anthem in te reo Māori and ruffled a few feathers. This year also marks the 20-year anniversary of her music therapy charity, the Rokotori Music Therapy Centre, and it's also the 5th anniversary of Waiata Anthems. Dame Hinewehi Mohi, congratulations. You are this year's inductee into the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Nā koe.
You're already a dame. This is like next level.
Honestly, my life has kind of gone in all sorts of different directions, and always I end up coming back to music, my real heart project and love for waiata. And so I'm so honoured to have this platform to celebrate the thing that I love the most about the language and culture, and how it's all encapsulated into waiata, and all those who supported me in my own music, and now those I work with and supporting them with their music. So it is just an absolute privilege to be a part of this musical whānau.
Yeah. And you said music, but you have been such a champion of te reo, Māori music as well, with waiata anthems. I don't think many songs sung in full te reo would be played on commercial radio, but you got it there.
We are celebrating 5 years since the Waiata Anthems release, and we're going to celebrate it with a vinyl edition, which will be very nice. And even going through the artwork and updating things just in the last week or so, it reminded me of how massive and mammoth that project was, and also the absolute involvement and heart that came with it, and all the people that were contributing so much of their love for our cultural identity in this country, and that was with Adam Holt at Universal Music, and Kim Bochier at Sony, who steered the mothership in the right direction on the music industry side, but also the artists and their openness to recreate, reimagine their hit songs into te reo Māori. And for most of them, it was the very first time they had sung in Māori, and it connected them again to their whakapapa, their genealogy, and their marae, and for many it was life-changing. So I just saw that as a privilege to be a part of something so special, where it was epiphanies abounding, and everyone got something different out of it. And I got to work alongside Sir Timoti Karetu for the reimagining of these waiata into te reo Māori. As my tutor at university in the early 80s, it was a fantastic thing to revisit that friendship and mentorship with him.
I bet. Being inducted into the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame, I remember that you were quite humble sometimes. I've asked to interview you and you've said, no, Charlotte, interview this person. No, you love. But was it hard for you to accept? Did someone say, we'd like to do this? And were you okay with being inducted into the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame?
It is difficult. And not so dissimilar from accepting the damehood. I am more comfortable with it when I see the opportunity to acknowledge all those who've come before me and supported me, mentored me, and who have passed, and those who continue to support me now, and also as a platform for celebrating waiata reo Māori. Just really be proud of it.
Yeah. You mentioned the people that have supported you throughout your life, and I know your father was huge in your life, especially with teaching you the Māori language. Did you speak Māori at home?
Well, from the age of about 10, I think, 9 or 10, Dad decided he really wanted to speak Māori, learn to speak Māori, because his parents hadn't passed on the language to him and his sisters. And that was because they'd been disciplined at school for speaking Māori, and so they thought, we'll protect them from that. It's a very common story amongst Dad's generation, and in different regions it affected different people in different generations. But it really was such a difficult thing for him when he started to realise that there was something missing in his life, and something missing in his understanding of himself. So he started to learn Māori, and this was in the mid-70s when learning Māori was quite difficult.
What were his resources?
He had a friend, actually a tetraplegic, who was in a home in the olden days when anyone with a disability was in a facility, and so we used to go and visit him, and Pomana. He used to help Dad with the reo, and also correspondence school, which was the only thing really. And my Uncle Charlie and Auntie Blossom were the teachers, and Dad enrolled me, even though I wasn't actually old enough to be enrolled, under my auntie's name. They were saying to her, "Oh, your reel's really coming along." Anyway, that's a side story.
I love that story, though. He really wanted it so much that he sort of not broke the rules.
A little bit, yes. And also he played records, LP records, which I think we can really credit to my love of waiata and how my love for the music and coupled with the language, because Dad, we lived on a farm in central Hawke's Bay, quite remote. It was a toll call to ring my grandparents, so there weren't many support systems for us learning the language. So Dad played these records over and over again. You might be able to find them in your library.
I was about to say, there's one record that I love from years ago, the Maniapoto Sisters.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
yes.
Was it music like that? Why?
Music like that. Inia Te Wiata and I think Māori opera theatre group and Māori chorals and choral groups, and Isabel Cohen, she was gorgeous. So I used to listen to her voice and mimic it, and that's how I developed my higher voice, mezzo-soprano, sort of imitation of Isabel Cohen.
Wow, so that's where your love for music came from. Your parents weren't musical. You didn't learn instruments at home?
No, can't even play the spoons. And in fact, I never really picked up on any instrumentation. Dad brought me a guitar when he sent me to St Joseph's Māori Girls College to, carry on with the reo and the culture and learning and performing. And he gave me a guitar, but I just liked singing and got my mates to play the guitar. And that's also where I was exposed to the wonderful tutelage of Dame Georgina Kiengi. Then she was the Māori teacher and the kapaka teacher, or the concert party as we called ourselves, and the Māori club, and we'd perform everywhere all the time, in chapel, in class, in performances for visitors or out in the community, and I just adored it. I loved it so much, and Dame Georgina is a very strict teacher, but you knew where you stood and you knew what was expected of you, and I enjoyed the discipline, which I think set me up really well for recording in studio, because I was really focused about that.
The St Joseph's Māori Girls School have released lots of CDs or lots of beautiful recordings over the many years. Did you record with them, do you think?
No, I just fell through the gap there. And one of my most favourite is with Maisie Rika, performing and singing beautiful songs like Hine. I just love seeing Maisie now, and we all have come from this club with Moana Maniapoto, Whirimako Black, and where we had that wonderful grounding of, coming from marae experiences and how waiata forms part of the rich protocol of marae and traditions and ceremonies, but also with St. Joseph's, it was, 200 girls, 200 teenage Māori girls. Whew. Anyone who would take that on as a lifetime commitment, like Dame Georgina Kiingi, it's just incredible, her devotion to that school. It was really at such a golden time with Sir Timothy Kāretu, the late Dr. Hinewehi Mohi, and Wharehuia Milroy. So we were very blessed to have such amazing tutors and mentors and inspiration for all that we learned.
Were you learning te reo, or were you learning to make music at university?
No, it was a Bachelor of Arts, so my major was Māori, and Hinewehi took a waiata class, and so we learnt all about hine raukatauri and the taonga puoro, the traditional Māori instruments. He had such a lovely, gentle way about him. He was always encouraging me to think about writing and singing. And Sir Timothy taught me all about mōteatea, the traditional waiata, which are monotone, there's no harmony, no instrumentation, and all sorts of things. And it was just like a whole magical awakening to this world of tradition of our ancestors. So from that, I had a combination of kapahaka, which is kind of in betweeny waiata, ringa, poi, and haka, in a way that sort of meets in the middle, and as well as an understanding and a real love and appreciation for the traditional waiata, and then through to wanting to have contemporary waiata as part of that. And I met Jazz Coleman when he was first living in New Zealand, and he established the York Street studio. He asked for someone to open with a waiata, and he was just navigating Māori culture and music at that stage.
Had you heard of him? Had you heard of Killing Joke?
No. And so I was actually working at TVNZ, and my friend dragged me down to the music library and said, "This is Killing Joke," and I went, "Ooh." It's not quite my sort of music, but I appreciated that there was, another kind of perspective on music. Yes. When he introduced me, and I just met him really, and he was new to the country, but he introduced me to perform at the opening of the York Street Studios in Parnell, and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's only appropriate that we open this house of music with a song, introducing you to," and he looked at me and I could tell he'd forgotten my name, and he goes, "Hinewehi." So I've been Hinewehi ever since.
Has he called you that since?
Yeah, Weenie. He lives in Argentina now, and we don't catch up that often. Yeah, he was amazing and really wanted to create something very different from any of the Māori music he had heard beforehand. And in fact, he was quite insistent on it, which is why I think his different perspective of music, a combination of Killing Joke, orchestra, that's a crazy combination just in itself, yes, but also a different perspective on how Māori music could sound. And I think that's what you're hearing is a really different approach with the sort of chanting, mōteatea kind of esqueness, as well as taonga puoro, the traditional instruments, the voices of antiquity, combined with the contemporary rhythms and sound of contemporary Western music and musicianship. So, yeah, it was a great project. I really loved it.
Have you heard of a DJ called Lady Shaka?
Yes.
Do you know that she DJs your music out?
Yes. Now, I've known her since she was a teenager at Waioria, Western Springs, and I was just delighted when she was in the UK and jamming the jams from home, people were saying to me, I was in this club in London, and there it popped up. And, even when Oceania was still, sort of playing into the 2000s, and my cousin said, I'm at Niagara Falls, cousin, I'm hearing your music, and it's just so lovely to be able to share the gift of music wherever you are in the world, and it just brings us together. It's a real connector. It's so powerful. I love it. And it was also an opportunity for me to channel my emotions after having a daughter with incredible challenges. Hinewehi Mohi is nearly 28.
Wow.
I know. She's just, a blessing for our whānau. She teaches us so much every day and all the time, and inspires so much in what we do, particularly for music therapy. And Jazz also taught me about music therapy, and Nordoff Robbins in the UK was a really important part of the music industry. And so when we first experienced that for our daughter, and her immediate response was just so animated and excited about connecting to someone through music. And when we came home, we thought, we'll try and find something here for her as well. And there were music therapists working here, but it was really through setting up our own centre that's now growing and 20 years old.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. I guess that wasn't in your plan, like setting up a music therapy centre.
The Raukatore Music Therapy Centre started just with one therapist and a handful of children, including Hinewehi Mohi, who was she must have been 7 at the time, and an incredible group of people who really dedicated themselves to it and continue to be involved and keep it running. This year is extremely challenging, though. Charities all over are really struggling to continue to provide the services and help people in the way that we have been.
And it's lack of funding.
And just a complete change of resource set up, and that means that those services that are most dependent on external resource are going to be affected. So we have to think really creatively about how we're going to have some big explosive action to draw in some funding to keep it going.
Is this the Guinness Book of Records?
Yes.
Little secret? Can you tell me, because I was thinking if anyone's listening right now and they want to support music therapy as well, you are doing something very special to fundraise for the Raukatore Music Therapy Centre, aren't you?
Yes, well, I won't tell too much quite yet. But for Matariki, we're going to have a big announcement, because the world record for the biggest haka is actually held by the French.
What?
It's outrageous.
That is so outrageous.
So we're going to have an event where we will break that record. We're absolutely confident of that. Bring that record back.
I love your energy, Hinewehi, because you're constantly thinking or working on an exciting new project. You're constantly busy. Well, it feels like you are. You've always got cool projects, and you've got a job as well.
I was going to say that.
And you're a mother. And, where do you get your energy from, do you think?
I think I get my drive from my parents, my dad, and definitely in terms of putting me on the pathway to pursue the reo and tikanga and share it with others, and music being my avenue of choice. And, Dad did start that with playing those records over and over and over and over again.
Do you still play those records even now?
When I listen to them, in a different form, not on a record player so much, but it just brings back so many memories, because I was a bit reluctant. I was really wanting to get out on my motorbike and go hooning off around the hills, but Dad would be very strict and intentional about how we needed to learn the language every night. there needed to be some concerted effort on learning. Yeah, it was a bit painful when I was 10. But now I love it, and I'm so grateful that he did that for me, because it's as important for him as it is for me. And now that I see how important it is for others, and my ability to be in positions where I can support that is really important to me, and I'm grateful for it.
I'm grateful for you, and I was going to say it's so important for our whole country, for Aotearoa, to celebrate too. 10 years ago, you were sick with breast cancer. How's your health now?
I seem to be fine.
You look great. Yeah.
I didn't have time to be sick. And it was really much a point in my life where I had to take stock of what was happening. You know, Hinewehi Mohi was still needing a lot of attention at hospital and specialists, and so that had to continue. But my darling love heart George was able to, wrap me up and support me so I could get through the treatment and care for Hinewehi Mohi and the team and the whānau and continue to keep things on track. So always in anything I do, nothing is in isolation, and always so dependent on those who love and support me. So even when I have the craziest of ideas, there seems to be lots of people who go, yeah, let's do that. And
it's your energy. It's contagious.
Well, I think maybe there's some people that are going, oh, God, here she comes. I better avoid her. She's going to rope me into something.
I think your Waiata Anthems project is not something people would run away from.
The artists involved with that first Waiata Anthems album told me all the time how overwhelming it was. Even Stan Walker, and all his gorgeousness and his understanding of the reo at that time, he still felt really nervous about singing his Waiata. And
now look at him.
Now look at him.
I know.
Isn't he incredible?
Yes.
And I was really grateful for that, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. A determination to make that connection to the language and culture and being a part of it. And Tammy Nielsen, she's from Canada, has some Indigenous whakapapa as well that she could bring to the story, and those glorious dulcet tones of hers, and 660 with Marlon, Te Marino, and Mathieu, and how they learnt so much about their own connections to home, and for Mathieu, the rich connection to a beautiful musical family. Yes. and that history. So it was a glorious time, and having a lot of fun with the Drax Project boys. We were just talking about my music at one stage, and I talked about Kotahitanga, the song, whakaawe, awe, awe, and they were so excited because they used to do jump jam at school to that song. And so I said to them at the beginning of this year, you guys should do a new 2024 version of that song, and all your generation and younger and older will relate to it from jump jam, so they're going to do that.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if I was meant to say that.
Wow, that's so exciting.
Yes, they are sort of plotting and scheming as a celebration for Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori later in the year.
Oh. Dame Hinewehi Mohi, congratulations again for being inducted into the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame, and thank you so much for everything that you do for our New Zealand music community and for the Māori language community as well. All the music that you make is just, I feel like you bring so much joy to us and open our minds. So thank you.
Well, thank you for championing it, championing the music and our culture. Kia ora.
I was speaking with Dame Hinewehi Mohi, this year's inductee into the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame. She'll be inducted later this month at the Aotearoa Music Awards, and we'll be there reporting on it. Now, listening-wise, album-wise, go and listen to Oceania. It's such a timeless album. And make sure you follow our Music 101 interview podcast. It's always for free, and tell your music-loving friends too as well. Until next time, take care and go and listen to some Waiata anthems too.